Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and non-binary friends, good afternoon, and welcome to the final BrownBag concert of the 46th season. Before I forget, I want you to mark your calendars now. The 47th season of the BrownBag series will start September 4th. That is the very first Wednesday after Labor Day, so mark it in your calendars. Set your reminders right now. We hope to see you again in September. If you're a fan of the BrownBag series and would like to see it going for another 46 years, I would encourage you to make a donation, and you can do that in several different ways. We have strategically placed baskets all around the building, so if you're carrying just a giant wad of cash, feel free to visit that basket on your way out. We also take checks, certificates of deposit, whatever you got to spare, we'll take it. If you're more phone-friendly or prefer doing all of your business and banking at the computer, you'll find a QR code on the back of the program, so you probably know how that works. I'll invite you to peruse that option. Just a gentle reminder to switch off anything that might make an unwanted beep, and join me in welcoming the Amethyst Quartet.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming today. We've been looking forward to this program. This program was conceived last summer when I made a trip to England to continue a journey that my dad was unable to continue because he became ill. In 1984, he was going over to England to find his roots. My last name is Ions, I-O-N-S. Chemistry teachers used to love me. Protons, neutrons. But anyway, the word ions is actually a derivation maybe of Jones. It's John. Ian is John. Anyway, my dad and his cousin were all set to go to a city called Newcastle upon Tyne. And Newcastle is in the north of England, not far from Scotland. And there at the beautiful cathedral downtown, St. Nicholas Cathedral, it's magnificent. It rivals Trinity, what very few things do, but it's not similar, Gothic, beautiful. And the organist there in 1734 was an ancestor named Thomas Ions. And then he passed away at an early age, and his brother James took over. So both of their names are in gilded letters right by the organ, very large, and the stained glass window there in the north window has in memory of Thomas Ions on it. So this was important for me to see this and kind of finish the roots journey that my dad started. So I've compiled a bunch of beautiful songs from the British Isles. We were going to wear colors of the British Isles, like some orange and brown for Ireland, red, blue, and white for, and so we sort of did, but mine is American because we won, so. So we're going to start with Rule Britannia. It's based on a poem by James Thomson. It was, the music was composed by a man named Thomas Arne. This is from 1740. It's strongly associated with the British Navy and the Army. It's very regal, and it's a bit pompous. Just a bit. Okay, we're going to continue with a beautiful selection called I Vow to Thee, My Country. This was written by Gustav Holst. He was born of German heritage but lived in England. And his most famous piece of music is for the symphony orchestra. It's called The Planets. And he musically describes, in his mind, each of the planets. I don't know, is Pluto gone? Is Pluto? No. Yeah, Pluto, poor Pluto. I don't think it's a planet anymore, but it might still have music. I don't know. But each of these describes musically, each of the planets are described. And this particular song, I Vow to Thee, My Country, is based on Jupiter. This is, you'll hear influences of Wagner, Richard Strauss, and some English folk songs too, which had a big revival in the early 20th century. This piece is played every Armistice Day, and it was also used for the funerals of Winston Churchill, Margaret Thatcher, and Princess Diana. So here we go with I Vow to Thee, My Country. The next selection is very familiar, Green Sleeves. Very beautiful, kind of spurious as to who composed it. I think King Henry VIII said he did. No. But this, it might have been composed by somebody in his court. We don't really know for sure. But this version is composed by Ralph Vaughan Williams. He was born in 1872, died in 1958. Wow, I was 1 when Vaughan Williams died. Oh, I just gave away my age, didn't I? Anyway, this follows the folk song trend in the early 20th century, as I mentioned. They loved using these old English folk tunes. Vaughan Williams said, and I quote, "Music, above all art forms, expresses the soul of a nation." In his Green Sleeves, Ralph Vaughan Williams captures the beauty of the English countryside. It's so serene and pastoral. And this version of Green Sleeves was used in his opera called Sir John in Love. The opera is from 1946, and it was based on Shakespeare's Merry Wives of Windsor. So here we go. Oh, by the way, I want to say one thing about Vaughan Williams. He turned down knighthood. The king wanted to knight him, and he said, "No, I am suspicious of any prize that might carry duties or expectations." But he was given the Order of Merit by King George V, so he did accept that because there were no strings attached, I guess. So here we go with the beautiful Fantasia on Green Sleeves. This next piece is composed by a composer you might not have heard of before. His name is Delius, Frederick Delius. He lived in England, but was of German parents. He was born in 1862, died in 1934 in Bradford, England. And when he was 55, he decided to compose this string quartet. It's very beautiful. It's very lush. It's got the harmonies, for sure, of Wagner and other late Romantic composers. His dad, however, Delius, the composer's dad, really did not want him to go into music. He wanted him to go into finance. So he sent the young Delius, the young Frederick, to Florida. And in Florida, he was a manager of orange groves, and he hated every minute. He said, I want to get back to my England. I want to compose. I don't want to be an orange grove manager. So he moved back to England, and he composed this beautiful string quartet at age 55. This movement is called Late Swallows. And I don't know why. No one does, actually. Swallows are, and I brought one, not a live one. This is what a swallow looks like. Got this in Portugal. They're very, very popular in Portugal. And Carol, would you mind reading why swallows are important?
Well, swallows tend to symbolize love and devotion and divine protection. And for sailors, they are a sign of good luck.
So here we're going to play the beautiful Late Swallows, and you'll notice the lush, beautiful harmonies in this, and lots of complex rhythms and textures. So enjoy Late Swallows. Now we've been staying in England, and we're going to stay still in England, with a song by Sir Edward Elgar. Can you think of other Sirs? Sir Sean Connery, Sir Paul McCartney. Who else? Sir Elton John, Sir Kent Collier. Everybody I want to introduce everybody. This is Kent Collier on cello. He's just wonderful. Thank you, Kent. Take it away. Kent is our principal first chair cellist in the Cleveland Pops Orchestra. And then we have Carol Ruzicka. Carol is the concert master, first chair of the Cleveland Pops Orchestra. I get to sit second to her, so I'm kind of like her lady in waiting, you know. Carol and I have known each other since 9th grade. Man, about 10 years now. Wow. And then we have the illustrious violist Laura Kuennen-Poper. She is wonderful. Laura came to us from California a while back, has played on many movie scores. I like to brag about that. What were the movie scores again? Too many to list. Well, name a few popular ones. Jurassic Park. Dances with Wolves. There's so many, but if you see those movies, you'll hear Laura on the recording of the orchestra. Not individually, but in the orchestra. All right, so here is a beautiful selection by Sir Edward Elgar. He was born 1857, died in 1934. He was an excellent violinist and organist, and he even played the bassoon. He wrote this Salute d'Amour in 1888. It was a gift of music to his bride-to-be. It's very romantic. Another thing Elgar did was he loved the gramophone. He really got the gramophone out there. Remember his master's voice? What was the dog's name? Nipper is right. You know your trivia. Yes. Oh boy, yeah, you know it. RCA Nipper was the dog, and I always got him mixed up with Little Orphan Annie's dog, Sandy. But now this is a thing that Elgar did so wonderfully to get that gramophone out there and use it. He was knighted in 1904, and here is his beautiful Love's Greeting. About 100 years ago, that was very popular for weddings. It was probably what the Pachelbel canon is today, you know. Everybody played Love's Greeting at weddings. Okay, now we're moving on to Scotland. Who's been to Scotland? Yes, quite a few. Edinburgh Castle, beautiful, yes, gorgeous. Scotland is amazing, you know, there's big cities and then there's the heather on the hills and the wonderful nature, the lochs. And there's a lake, actually is the word Loch Lomond. There's also Loch Ness that has a monster, apparently. Loch Lomond has a monster too, but they don't talk much about him because they want to keep tourism going. But anyway, we're going to play now Loch Lomond. It tells the story of two Scottish soldiers who were imprisoned. One of them was to be executed while the other was to be set free. According to Celtic legend, if someone dies in a foreign land, his spirit will travel to his homeland by the low road, the route the souls took when they parted the body of the living. And there's also the high road, which is the other road taken. And it doesn't say much more about that, only is to this day very popular. It was first published in 1841. And we don't really know who composed it. It's anonymous, but it's a wonderful tune, and we're sure you'll recognize it. Here we go, Loch Lomond. How many of you have watched the miniseries, well, it's actually about 8 years, a show called Outlander? How many of you aren't admitting that you watch Outlander? It's kind of saucy. It's saucy. It's about a woman in the 1960s who goes to Scotland with her husband. They're British. And she touches some stones, some rocks, and she gets transported back 200 years to Scotland. And she goes to find her husband. Once she gets in the building he was in is no longer there. Nothing's there, except one person's there named Jamie, the heartthrob. Who knows of Jamie? He's a hottie, Scotty. And anyway, he steals her heart. And they have a relationship, and she's got to go back 200 years. And in 1960s, we didn't really have computers, but we had a lot of amenities for modern life, which they did not have when she went back in time, but they had him. So, Jamie, his name was Jamie Fraser. Then she goes back in time 200 more years, but this time she has a baby to Jamie and tries to make the husband understand. I went back in time, you don't understand. But there's a beautiful song that goes along with this series. It's called the Skyboat Song. The words are lovely. Sing me a song of a lass who has gone over the sea to Skye. Say, could this lass be I? Merry of soul, she drifted away over the sea to Skye. And Skye is the place where the Skye Terrier comes from. It's S-K-Y-E. The little terrier that are called Skye Terriers are from there. This boat song was probably created around the time of the Battle of Culloden, which was in, I think, 1734, I want to say. And when King Charles left the mainland and went over to Skye, this is when this was composed, around that same time. So he was defeated. But he left and went to the island. And here we have the Scottish folk song, the Skye Boat Song. Now we're moving to Wales, and we're going to play a very popular Welsh song called The Ash Grove from 1802. Everyone knows it. I think it's about a couple, and the woman dies. Her name is Gwen. Very popular Welsh name. The Welsh need to buy a vowel, for crying out loud. Their words are just full of consonants. But we think you'll recognize it. It's very, very lovely. And it's a very sweet little waltz from Wales. Kent has a priceless story. Here we go.
I don't know if it's priceless, but it was funny. I went to London. The very first time I went, it was really exciting. I went to London, and the first time I went there, I went to the British Museum. And I had always wanted to see the Magna Carta. So they had this big case, and there was the original, I think there are 3 of them, Magna Cartas. And I was just thinking, wow, that's really exciting. I came up to it, not much of a crowd around it. And then there was another case right there that had the original Handel Messiah. And again, not too many people around that. Then I looked over, and there was a massive crowd around one thing. And I was thinking, wow, this must be amazing because, you know, way better than the Magna Carta, way better than, you know, all these other things. So I finally edge my way into this crowd, and I get to the display case, and it is the car wash receipt, which the flip side of it has, I want to hold your hand, I want to hold your hand. And that is the original thing that John Lennon wrote down while he was waiting for his car to be washed. And he just put it down so he wouldn't forget it. Thanks. That funny?
You were in England, London, when you jumped up. You were on a bus?
Oh.
Somebody landed in your lap. Who was that?
Well, it's not quite like that, but I was on a bus, and it was a double-decker bus, and I was on top, and another double-decker bus pulled in front of us, and it had the Spice Girls were on it, and they were doing a photo shoot, and I'm all kind of flustered and excited. I'm trying to get my camera out to get the thing, and I couldn't get the lens cap off and everything else, and finally as they're going away, I've got this one picture of this little tiny bus that I have to convince everyone the Spice Girls were on, so.
I thought one of them landed in Kent's lap, of course. That's writer's embellishment, we call it. Anyway, our next song is indeed a British song by John Lennon and Paul McCartney called Blackbird. This song is beautiful. It was written in 1968. Sir Paul McCartney has said, and I quote, "Blackbird represents a girl struggling during the civil rights movement." I feel very strongly, he said, about the rights of all people, and Blackbird is just what came to him to make a mark on this philosophy of his that all are created equal. Paul was born in 1942. He's still alive and well and touring, and I don't know if he's singing much, but he's still doing fine. And then following that, we're going to do Eleanor Rigby. It turns out Paul McCartney used to help an elderly lady with her groceries and other shopping, and he would help her out. And being with her, he said, enriched his young soul. So he really loved doing chores for this lady, and loved it. And she just reminded him of someone in his psyche, like someone that might need companionship, someone that's lonely, someone that dreams of a wedding that never was, someone that is buried with no one really knowing her, one priest, Father Mackenzie. So here are the 2 songs, Blackbird and Eleanor Rigby. The next tune, now we're in Ireland, by the way. You can take Aer Lingus out of Cleveland and go right to Dublin these days. And then you have connections to 34 different cities. I don't work for them. I just think it's a great thing to do. If you've always wanted to go to London, Dublin. Sorry, Irish folk. If you've always wanted to go to Dublin, take Aer Lingus. It's right there at Hopkins waiting for us. So here is Danny Boy, otherwise known as London Derriere, a traditional Irish melody. You guys have been a great audience. Thank you so much. We're going to do our last selection now. It's called Drowsy Maggie. It's an Irish reel. You know, there's jigs, there's reels. This is a reel, and this is used in river dance. If you've ever seen river dance, they love dancing to this. It's anything but drowsy. It's called Drowsy Maggie, but it's very, very peppy and perky, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful piece. And we thank you again for coming. Oh, thank you. Here we go, Drowsy Maggie. It takes one to know one. Thank you so much for coming. You too. Hello, ears. Those ears are out there. Listen, those ears are magnificent. Yeah. Karen, it's 100,000 years ago.